And welcome back to another New Wave Nerds movie review. This week we're going to be taking a look at one of the greatest sci-fi movies of all time, arguably at least. We're taking a look at Star Trek II: The Wrath of Khan. I'm Brennan Sem for the New Wave Nerds. Joining me as usual is Shayde Sem, and special edition in third chair we have none other than the co-host of My Father Before Me, Tory Sem. How are you doing? Yes, the uncle before me. Yes. So we're going to be talking about Star Trek II. Let's see. No spoiler reviews. What did you guys think? Well, yeah, Shayde, you go first. Sorry, because it's the first time you've seen it, so that makes sense.
For the first time seeing this, also for the first Star Trek, I would say classic Star Trek project that I've seen.
Yeah. Well, yeah, because you've only seen the Abrams movies, right?
Yeah, which I love. But this was really good. It felt like a piece of like a play, kind of like a stage play.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, that's definitely something that I feel, and I don't know if you feel the same way, Dad, but I get that when I'm watching the original series. It feels very much like a mix between actual TV and theater.
It is, and one of the trivias that I noted on this was that even though the Star Trek the Motion Picture actually made bigger box office numbers.
Really?
In theaters, of course, we know that Star Trek II has kind of taken over since then, but it actually made more money because it was a lower budget, right? So I think that they went back to a lower budget look and feel. I think one that the trivia thing mentioned that the entire thing, or 65% of the thing, is all done on one set,
Really?
So, you can definitely tell that. And there's lots of mentions of items that are reused, either reused from other things or reused in future Star Trek projects, just so that, again, cost-cutting measures and that sort of thing. So I don't know if they have as high of hopes on this one, or if they just wanted to go cheaper.
Right.
But I think that's where you get that feel. And, of course, Ricardo Montalban is, he's that type of, I don't know if flamboyant's the word, but he is an over-the-top. He eats the screen. When he's acting, he's acting.
Yeah, you definitely feel that he's like a telenovela star, Yeah, he's so good in this. I absolutely loved it.
His as I said to Brennan a lot during the movie, there was a lot of times where his acting impressed me, might I say. Also his villain was very, very, very cool.
Yeah, I mean, I love Khan.
Yeah, I know I've seen Khan's photo many different times on different things, but I didn't really know who he was. But now seeing him in the movie, it's understandable because he's a lot of the time he's placed next to Darth Vader when I see him. So
sure.
It's just mashups of villains. So yeah.
I think that's fair. I mean, I would definitely say that, in my opinion, Khan is easily in the top 10 villains. He's just so great. He's such a great foil for Kirk in the Enterprise. There's so much connection there, especially after going back and seeing the original series episode Space Seed, where he debuts. Because when I first saw the movie, I'd never seen any of the original series, right? And so I was like, oh, this is a cool guy. But when you go back and watch it all, it feels like a really complete story, even though it's, this is 15 years later than the show or whatever.
It is interesting. I saw in an interview with Montalban. He did mention that when they asked him to come back in his interview, and I couldn't find much else corroborating this, but he said their initial plan was it's going to be, like an AI take over a ship. It's going to be the bit. Right, but then they went back and watched the old episodes, and they decided just to find a character from previous episode, which is where they came up with Khan. Because in that episode, I'm sure you remember, at the end, Spock actually says it'd be interesting to go back in 100 years and see what kind of civilization is formed. And stuff.
Yeah.
So they even kind of set it up there, even though they maybe weren't planning on it. At the time, of course, they weren't planning on it when they're making the series. It wasn't about that, but he said, Ricardo Montalban said, he was busy doing Fantasy Island. I'm sure he hadn't seen any of that. Completely different character, and he was having trouble getting back into the character. He had to go back and he asked the director so he could get a print of the original episode so he could go back and rewatch because obviously, and he did that with streaming, so it
makes it a little difficult.
Just so that he could get back in character and get that feeling back. So that's kind of fun. That he didn't quite remember it or didn't quite feel it until he had to go back and rewatch.
Yeah, and it definitely feels. You definitely do get the sense. At least I got the sense that there was a continuation from the story. Despite the fact that it was so long ago, all of Khan's like line deliveries and stuff, it all felt like, oh yeah, this is true to how you would feel after being marooned for 15 years, stranded in this now desert planet. It made a lot of logical sense, and I really, really liked the writing there.
His most of his dialogue was very poetic.
Yeah,
I really like that.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of lines that call back to sort of the greats from the Western canon. Yeah.
When they go, I don't know if we're running into plot or spoilers here, but when they go into his thing and they focus on the books that he's got on the shelf, it's, Moby Dick and, it's those classic literature. So of course that's the way he talks.
Yeah. No, I thought he's just such a fun character. So here's Dad. I'm a little unclear. I forget like the timeline here. They were genetically mutated in the 90s. Is that what it was?
I think that's what it was. It was somewhere around the 90s. And there's a lot to that storyline. And I'm sure, there's been, the extended universe novels and stuff written that it can back. I don't think it got around to Strange New Worlds, but there's actually a character on Strange New Worlds who is a descendant of the Noonien Singhs.
Oh, really?
They have an episode or two where they kind of focus on that, and she's got to kind of overcome that a little bit, and stuff. So it's kind of interesting. But yeah, they were genetically mutated, eugenics, I think is the word.
Yeah.
About that, or eugenics.
Yeah, eugenics.
To be this superior race, and then of course they turned into bad guys, right? And that's why they were. I think, it wasn't one they just booted out to.
Yeah. So
that's the thing.
Yeah, they were rocketed out on the, what's it called, the Botany Bay, and just sent to float for, I guess it was like 200-something years, right? Because it normally takes place in the 23rd century.
Well, that's how the Illuminati took care of the whole thing.
That's very true. Yeah. Well, yeah, and Ricardo Montalban, he almost got his own planet.
Yeah.
World War Khan.
World War Khan.
Oh, man. I would watch that.
I was very confused for a little bit on like what was going on when Khan was on that desert planet. I first I thought maybe Kirk sent him to the wrong place.
Yeah.
And Kirk was trying to be a nice dude. But then I was like, wait, Brennan, how's this working here?
Yeah.
It was confusing for a second. But after a little bit, I understood and I liked it.
Yeah. Well, I really like that plot point of, Kirk strands them on this, beautiful like paradise island, and for a couple of years, it's fine, and then a nearby, planetoid explodes, and so it knocks this planet off of its axis, and so it becomes like a barren desert, and you can tell that he's like, he's so bitter about that. There's the line where he's like, Captain Kirk never bothered to check on our progress. I thought that was a really fun plot point.
Yeah, they definitely, there's something to that, Kirk just abandoning things. The focus of the movie is on Kirk getting old.
Yeah.
Obviously, youth and age and death and all that stuff. And, there's a possibility there that it's an error of Kirk's youth, that he just abandoned him, right? Didn't follow up and didn't do that kind of thing. I can't imagine that they maybe wouldn't have kept some eye on it.
Yeah.
You're abandoning this supervillain or whatever. This, just to assume that he's always going to just stay on the planet, never cause problems again. I don't know.
Yeah, seems a little short-sighted.
But yeah, it is interesting that, and I think that that's a good way to couch it too, because then you've got a real reason for him to be this villain, turn around and say, you abandoned me, and then you ruined his life, and all he wanted to do, maybe it's possible that it's one of those things where whether they've got the Any Given Day or anything like that, or the Joker had that series where it's the same thing, where anybody can be turned into a villain because of their circumstances. It's possible that he might have been a normal, genetically intelligent dude, just living on the planet until that happened.
Yeah. That's a good point. And I wonder, obviously it's a complete hypothetical. There's no way to tell. But what do you think would happen if they had tried to include him in Starfleet? If at the end of Space Seed, instead of marooning him, they were like, no, we're going to send you back to San Francisco or whatever, and you're going to be a teacher, or you're going to be an instructor or something because you're this genetically, super intelligent being. How much of an asset would he have been to Starfleet?
Depends if you want to look at Into Darkness, or is it?
Yeah, Into Darkness.
Look at that as what would have happened, because that's the point of that, right? Is that James Harrison, maybe this is spoiler alerts for Into Darkness, James Harrison or whatever it is, utilized by Starfleet as kind of an undercover ops guy.
That's right.
True, then that would have maybe been what happened.
Yeah, man, I gotta watch those Abrams ones again. It's been so long. Do you think, side tangent, do you think they're ever going to do a fourth one? There's been rumblings about it since Beyond came out, but I feel like it's probably not gonna.
I mean, if they do, there might be getting to the stage where the actors are all a little older. I mean, of course, you don't have Anton Yelchin anymore, which is sad.
Yeah. And how do you replace Chekhov?
We think of Scotty, he's getting up there in years.
Simon Pegg.
Yeah.
Yeah, he looks super old in The Boys.
But he's getting up there with household names, I would say. I mean, with The Boys plus Gen V plus.
Well, I don't know if I'd call him a household name.
The last few Mission Impossible's kind of been a staple.
That's right. I forgot about those.
He's definitely getting in there. Now, the Zachary Quinto, we just saw the commercial for he's got some new network TV show, so maybe he'd be tougher to get back as Spock, but I could, and I told you, I've been kind of enjoying Strange New Worlds and stuff. I mean, I could see a world where maybe they take that Spock.
Oh, yeah.
And kind of spin off some Star Trek movies based off that, with that cast or that age.
Yeah. Do you think the actor who plays Pike could like lead a movie? I don't know anything about him, but
oh well, he led a series, the Inhumans, as Black Bolt.
Oh.
But then again, he couldn't talk, so because Black Bolt doesn't speak, so that's somewhat difficult to use that as a gauge on him. I like him. I think Anson Mount.
Yeah,
I think he's great as Pike. I think I enjoy him.
He was in a TV series, an animated series, based on the Dota game. Dota Dragon's Blood. I didn't know that existed.
I like that animation.
It looks pretty cool.
I would really be okay if they did a Star Trek 4 by the J.J. Abrams one, and it's Chris Hemsworth, and they just go back and tell his story.
Yeah, was it his story would be pointless because sorry, not to just completely dunk on that idea. All right,
I guess
it's fine.
No, I think he meant Chris Hemsworth.
Yeah,
because we were talking about him. Yeah, I think not to just just to sugarcoat it. But isn't the point of that he was he was on the bridge, but he wasn't the captain. He just sort of took over the role and sacrificed himself, didn't he?
Yeah,
I think.
Yeah.
I don't think he was the captain beforehand.
No, I don't believe he was.
So yeah.
Now I can't recall.
He's just standard crewman until he decides to kill himself.
He's the problem is that actor's aged, and Chris is aged enough and beefed up enough that it'd be tough to do it.
Yeah,
that's true. Plus, I don't think he would ever come back to something like this. I mean, he's making Transformers money. He's an action star now.
I think if you really want to get into the prequel of Enterprise Star, you gotta go and watch Strange New Worlds. That's the thing. Strange New Worlds is coming back to the original series, and that is not entirely, but most of the time it is an episode of the week kind of thing. And they, they'll have a social commentary-ish episode, and stuff like that. It's back to that kind of feel.
Mm-hmm.
It's a modern way of doing that feel of a movie, I think.
Yeah, which, I mean, that feels much more like Star Trek to me. I mean, granted, I obviously haven't seen, like, say, Picard, which I know is much more, like, narrative-based. But, like, I feel it would almost be, it's almost kind of weird to not have an episodic story with Star Trek, just because, I mean, we've had at least 10 years of way more than that, but 10 years of amazing TV shows just based off of the original series and Next Gen, which are like completely episodic.
Right.
Okay, so besides the Abrams movies, are all of the original, I would say, I mean, I guess up to still now, but the TV shows canon?
Yeah, I think what's happening though is you've got multiple timelines now, right?
Oh, okay.
So the Abrams movie brings Leonard Nimoy, right?
Yeah.
In order to make
R.I.P.
Oh, okay.
I think so. Even when I'm watching that's the interesting part. That's why I always wondered about Discovery, because Discovery is actual pre all that stuff. It meets up with the Enterprise in one season because it's got that Anson Mount. It's got that crew in there. So it meets up with Enterprise before the shows would have been on, before they would have met up with, before the Romulan Nero comes back.
Oh, yeah.
Resets the Abrams universe, right? So I don't know, at that point, that's all kind of, I think it's still all considered canon.
Okay.
Okay.
That's cool.
So here's a question, I guess. And I don't know if you have an answer to this or if there even is an answer to this. So would Strange New Worlds then be in the Kelvin timeline?
Well, see, that's the thing, because it's pre that Kelvin incident.
Right. That's, yeah, I guess.
Well, yeah. So, no, I don't know. No.
Well, okay, because how old? Okay, so, I mean.
Strange New Worlds has James Kirk.
Oh, okay. Really? Okay. Well, in the Kelvin.
Interesting, because like you say, in the Abrams movies, he kind of gets, I'm not sure.
Yeah, because isn't he like, wasn't Jim like just born when they were?
The Kelvin universe kicks off with his birth, right?
Yeah.
Nero comes back and does his stuff, and kills his dad, which we were just talking about. Yeah, I'm not sure on that. Now I'm going to have to do some Googling on that, because like I said, we meet James Kirk. He's in Starfleet.
Okay.
If my memory is right on the Abrams movies, it's not that he washed out of Starfleet and comes back.
Right, yeah.
I don't know. It sure didn't seem that way in the Abrams. So I don't know.
Yeah.
Where they're going.
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, yeah, definitely, like I said, it's been a while since I've seen the movie, but the way I remember it is, yeah, that he was never involved with Starfleet. And so when he meets Pike, because Pike is in that. I forgot. When he meets him, he's like, I knew your dad. You should join Starfleet. Like, you should do it for the first time.
But you're saying that now. I'm wondering if the Strange New Worlds is actually in the, original series.
Yeah.
Obviously, they definitely focus on the incident that happens to Pike, which you were just watching in the, or they discuss in the original series.
Right, yeah.
Because something that happens in the Discovery season, this isn't much of a spoiler, but timey-wimey magic stuff, he kind of sees his future.
Mm.
So throughout Strange New Worlds, he knows what's going to happen to him, which is kind of makes it an interesting thing. Speaking of Wrath
of Khan, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, sorry.
No, you go first.
I just remember that I really, really liked how the protagonist and the antagonist don't even have physical contact the whole movie.
Yeah, that's a good point.
It's interesting to see that. There is actually trivia. There's besides the fact that I think it's a great framing, of that kind of thing, that this is a space battle, this is a naval battle or whatever. You never really get face to face with every movie that has some sort of a naval battle right now contrive some way for everybody to get face to face.
Sure.
I like the narrative aspect of that. In reality, I think it's because they couldn't get Ricardo Montalban's schedule line, and he shot all of his stuff separate.
Really?
Oh, wow, okay.
Everything they shot. Now, they did say, of course, that him and Shatner were, off during the filming, during production and stuff. They were having meetings and hanging out, and stuff like that. So, I mean, it's not that it wasn't anything like that. It was just a scheduling issue. So they had to shoot all of his stuff completely separate.
Interesting.
Like I say, I prefer to think of it more as good framing.
Yeah.
Planning on that aspect, they did their face-to-face in Space Seed. I like the idea that it's just it's a battle of, it's a spaceship battle, but it's also a battle of.
Yeah. No, that's a really good point. And Shayde, you pointed this out while we were watching the movie, is that, sorry, you just go ahead, you say it.
Yeah, I was talking about how I like how Kirk, even though I forgot his Khan. Sorry, I'm getting mixed up. Even though Khan like brags about his intellect all the time, and he says his superior intellect, it cannot be unbeat. We got Kirk, who I thought at the time was like didn't know he was that smart, and he just kind of sometimes unknowingly was a genius.
Yeah.
In beating Khan, but I really do like how we got Kirk this kind of preppy, confident man, and then we got Khan, this evil,
braggadocious
man, and yeah, it's just, I like how that's how they go at each other.
Yeah, it's great. Well, and it's they're great foils for each other because they both have such like massive egos, and yet at least in this movie, I feel like Kirk's ego is like toned down. He's like maybe a little wiser with age. He's not as out there as he was in the TV show. He's not got his wry smile quite as much.
But it is the experience thing that wins it in the end. In most situations, it's the fact that he's an experienced Starfleet captain that helps. Obviously, Spock kind of mentions the whole, I don't know if we'll get into spoilers.
We can move into spoilers. We're already like, yeah.
For 1982, he mentions the whole three-dimensional or chance,
yeah,
sort of thing, which is the big ending there. So that's a Spock idea, but it's a crew, and that kind of brings out that crew. But even towards the in their first meeting, the way that he defeats him is that he knows that you can control another ship using their control code.
Yeah.
So that's again another thing that Khan doesn't know, even though he's vastly superior intellect. It still comes down to experience.
Yeah,
which again falls on that young versus old team as well. And this young whippersnapper ain't gonna be. I know what I'm doing, kind of.
Yeah. Well, and I like Khan is super intelligent, but that intelligence is so overshadowed by his obsession with Kirk. There's that part where his second in command is like, "You already beat him once. Let's get out of here." And Khan's like, "No, I'm going to make him suffer," basically. It's like if you had been wise enough and aware enough of yourself that this is just like illogical and, stuff like that, he could have gone away, even just used the Genesis device or whatever and just completely succeeded in his plans. They could have escaped and, set up a new dictatorship on some other planet.
I have a question.
Let me interrupt real fast. He didn't have the Genesis device until
after,
and found
that's right.
So he could have done. They could have got away for sure, but yeah, at that point they didn't have the thing.
That's a good point. Yeah, they have to beam down to Regula 1 first.
Do you what you really want us to?
Yeah, he just wanted Kirk's head. That's all. What were you gonna ask?
Okay, so when you're beaming somewhere, right? And so when Khan beams the Genesis device to the ship, I was wondering in my head, what would happen if someone jumped on the device 2 seconds before it gets beamed somewhere else? Do they just beam with it, or do they have to take the time?
In the fourth movie, was
the whales.
They're seeing Kirk on, and the lady friend in that movie hops onto him and goes with it.
Oh,
okay.
So it is canon that yes, that happened. Now that's magic. I mean, I don't want to call it magic, but
Okay.
Yeah. Well, and so I always thought it was weird that like, why do we have like the transporter room with these specific spots that you stand on if like when you're out in the world you can just beam them from wherever?
I think it's a magical pattern buffer.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
They even have used those transporter type things for many different solutions.
Yeah, you just wait until we watch 4. It gets a little crazy with the teleporters transporter.
In there, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I was thinking maybe it would do what it did in Spaceballs if you jumped on it at the wrong time, where like half your body's pointing this way.
Oh, Spaceballs is so good. I love that.
Picture yet?
No.
No.
Okay. Well, there's transporter malfunction there.
Oh, okay.
You can actually see.
Oh.
Bones actually hates it.
Yeah.
Bones, being a medical doctor, knows what's happening. It's all your particles getting spread out, and so it's a mess. But
Yeah, there's some real fun transporter stuff in the original series. There's like an episode where Kirk gets split into 2 people. And so there's one side of him who's like really like kind and genial and a little bit lazy. And then the other one is really aggressive and willful. And he like tries to force himself on to like his yeoman or whatever. It gets real weird. It's a great episode though.
Yeah. I really liked the acting of William Shatner in this. Well, I mean, it was funny at times, sometimes there was some overacting, but
It's very Shatner-esque.
yeah, as I was telling you, that just, I like it because it's a classic joke now of Captain Kirk and mocking his voice, but also he had really good facial acting, and so did Khan's actor. What's his name?
Ricardo Montalban.
Ricardo Montalban.
So did William Shatner was he a theater actor originally? I feel like I remember that, but I'm not sure.
I know that one of his early things was I think it was the Twilight Zone movie or the episode. No, it was an episode of the Twilight Zone. He was in the original episode of the Twilight Zone where you see a creature on the
wing. Yes, I love that episode.
Let's go. So so he was in the original episode of that, I believe. I think that was him. I know he's in the Twilight Zone. I don't remember. I thought it was that episode.
I'm pretty sure. Let me see if I can find it here quickly.
They don't even have dodgeball in his Discovery.
Well, Shayde, I'm in the 1950s right now.
Oh,
A long time Shatner has. I loved him. Even in his old years, he was on that. He had a bit part in the TV show To Practice, that lawyer.
That's right. I remember talking about that.
Spun off his character and some other ones into their own show, and I think that one was at Boston Legal. I think that might have ran even longer. But he did a great job in that as kind of a weird old eccentric dude.
Yeah. What did we? I've never seen the show, but I know that we have talked about Boston Legal before.
I imagine we pulled it up. It might have been Shat, right?
Have we seen anything with him in it though? Because I feel like it was for an episode.
Yeah, no, I can't remember. I'm sure we brought that up at some point. There was probably some overlapping there.
Yeah. In any case, I saw that Shatner was in 2 episodes of Alfred Hitchcock Presents, which I might have those episodes on Blu-ray right now.
I'll have to go back and watch.
Yeah. And it looks like he was actually in 2 Twilight Zone episodes. Season 5 one is Nightmare at 20,000 Feet, and then the other one is called Nick of Time, which I don't really remember. A pair of newlyweds stopping in a small town are trapped by their own superstition when playing a fortune-telling machine in a local diner.
Yeah, I'm not.
Oh, he looks great.
Those Twilight Zones. I'm not a fanatic.
Ritz.
Where I remember all of them.
Is it on? It looks like it might be on Paramount. I might have to give some of this a watch. Oh yeah, it's on Paramount.
I can watch them. Well, and then was it Peele? Jordan Peele recently remake.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Season of it or something like that. But I don't know if it got picked up for another season or what, or maybe it was always playing just a few special episodes or something like that.
Yeah, it's only rated 6 stars on IMDb, so.
catch up to Willow.
No, which is not saying much. The poster looks really sick, though.
That does.
It's just got like a door in a field, and it opens into like the great beyond or whatever. Yeah, it looks cool.
Speaking of
Wrath of God. One thing that I wanted to say is that normally I never really pay attention to like this aspect of the movie, but I really like the costumes in this. Like I loved the Enterprise uniform. I don't know, there's something about like that like turtleneck.
Yeah.
It's interesting that we're starting with if we're talking about, a Star Trek retrospective, if we equate this to my father before me, like I mentioned to you guys before, Wrath of Khan is my introduction to Star Trek. I mean, obviously I was a kid when it came out, but I distinctly remember watching this. I distinctly being grossed out by the little creatures crawling in the ear.
Yeah. Which that effect was actually really good. It still holds up 40 years later.
And the reason I say it's interesting that we're starting with this, besides the fact that it's my introduction, it's also the introduction of a lot of that naval stuff, right? So they redid all the costuming to be more naval costumes, which are reused in later, from here on out, basically. They, they have the boat swaying whistle, stuff like that.
Yeah.
That kind of thing. And they do a lot more with yeomans and sirs and Mr. Savick, even though she's a female, because that's naval terminology.
Right.
Roddenberry always planned on Star Trek being naval in space, but he didn't go full on into it until they did this movie. Even the motion picture is not like
really.
It's an interesting take on this, and it really, I think, kicks off what we think of as a modern Star Trek. Because, like I said, this kicked off. I mean, of course, then the I think the music is actually used for the Next Generation.
That's what I was going to ask.
With the music, and so the design of Star Trek did a big shift with this movie, and I think that carried through. If anything, is probably the most influential in that way.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I mean, some people say 4 is the best movie, but the vast majority definitely all say it's Wrath of Khan.
Well, once you get through 2, 3, and 4, I mean, they're a lot of continuous.
It is.
I mean, it definitely kicks off with Wrath of Khan.
Yeah. You mentioned, sorry, good.
Costuming, there's a couple things on enough. One, that is Ricardo Montalban's chest.
Oh, he's jacked.
I mean,
Holy crap.
All the things that I can see to verify it. Some people have said it's a prosthetic, but yeah, that's his chest.
How old was he in this?
I don't know, but he definitely snaked.
Oh, so okay, he's like 60. He's born in 1920.
Holy crap.
Yo, he's jacked.
Just like, I mean, Fantasy Island was good to him, I guess. Most of his henchmen, his crew, were actually Chippendale.
Really? Huh. That's funny.
To be his crew and stuff.
Yeah.
I really liked their costume design.
It's actually, like you say, it is a great indicator of what happens if you get knocked into this.
Yeah.
And even when they're walking up and you think, what is this alien race here or something? But it's just them with like these metal protective meshes just to protect from the sand.
Yeah, that was so cool. One thing I will say, though, is that I wasn't a huge fan of Khan's costume. The incredibly, not even deep, but the incredibly wide V was a little much.
Not the chest.
It was so weird that I was like, I knew just like 1 millimeter more and there was his nipples. You know what I mean? It was very weird.
Yeah, it's a deep V.
Yeah, it's a super wide V. But on that scene, when they show up on SETI Alpha 5, right in the beginning, one thing that I wish they had done is instead of, in the scene after they come inside from the desert to escape the winds or whatever, and Ricardo Montalban's undressing his face mask or whatever, I wish that they had kept the camera on him the entire time instead of cutting back to the crew. I mean, granted, it's not like it's necessarily a mystery. The movie's called Wrath of Khan. If you're familiar with the TV show, I mean, they really clearly show the SS Botany Bay, and Chekhov is like, we gotta get out of here. Yeah. So it's not like a mystery, but it definitely would have I feel like it would have been much more suspenseful, and it would have been interesting to build like a moment of tension.
I imagine what you're seeing there is modern day bobby pins holding the costume together, so they couldn't really focus on taking it off because they would have a costume.
Yeah, no, that's a good point.
I do like the detail of the
Glove?
no,
Oh, that's what I thought you were talking about.
what's the like the Enterprise? Is that what it's just called?
The ship?
Or just like
Are you talking about his pendant?
yeah.
Yeah, the Starfleet symbol.
Okay, the star.
Yeah, no, I like that
That's
too.
a cool detail.
I would. Where do we think he got that from? Did he pull it off the corpse of some individual? Did he like rip it off of a?
Was it Chekhov's or somebody? You know, so when they get back to the Reliant, he says they marine their crew.
Right.
Setting up, you know, they send them all to their planet or what. So I'm assuming, yeah, that's what they did. Is they kind of because he's also got kind of a jacket. And when he first walks on, he's kind of got a loose jacket.
Yeah.
Of course, he's got to show the chest, the official uniform and stuff like that. So, you know, to me, they're coming off as, you know, like you say, pirates that are just kind of grabbing things and stuff. Yeah, and you know, just going from there.
Yeah, no, yeah, you definitely do get that sense. I mean, they're even like they're very dirty individuals, you know. And Shayde pointed out, he was like, "I love how dirty they are on this really clean bridge." Yeah, no, it was great, and I like the sort of like symbolism of him having the Starfleet symbol like on his chest, because
I'm taking over.
yeah, well, it's like he's taken over, and then it's also like this is the thing that has consumed me. You know, I am obsessed with Starfleet, with Kirk. I need to take this guy down. So it's like, even though, you know, he gets on the ship and he's nominally like, let's get out of here. It's like, from that little instant, you know, all right, he's going after him.
Yep.
I like how eventually he gives up on like fully killing Kirk to just like emotionally destroying him throughout time.
Yeah, when he leaves him marooned.
Yeah,
That's his first attempt at some sort of revenge, you know, just leaving him marooned. You know, inside the planet, right? Which I don't know the logic there. I mean, obviously they transport down. You think he's never going to transport it?
Yeah. Well, and like, I don't know, like, why would Khan not assume that there would be like, I mean, it's a research facility. Why would he not assume that there's a multitude of technology that they could use to escape? Yeah. Yeah.
It's not like people, transport down there and never came.
Yeah. But as far as like deciding not to kill Kirk, I really like that line later on in the movie where he's like, no, I'm not going to kill you. I've hurt you and I'm going to keep on hurting you. Yeah, it definitely, again, just sort of hit home that obsession. I thought it was great character development. All right. All right.
I mean, it's a classic. And like I said, it's my introduction to Star Trek. And I'm glad it's your, you know, obviously you've seen the Abrams stuff and that sort of thing. And you know, it doesn't fit the My Father Before Me necessarily because I know you've seen this many times. I've made you watch it before.
Yeah.
And that sort of thing. But I think it's again, if you're trying to get into Star Trek, this is the way to do it. I mean, and the effects hold up. I mean, like you said, a little creepy.
yes.
Climbing into his ear, that was a little piece of rubber with jelly on it, and they had a string just to pull it across their face to make it shut. But
Last night during that scene, I
Yeah, Shayde made me stop the movie to tell me this.
and I was like, Brennan, what if they used a magnet and a fake ear? And I was just trying to figure out how they did it.
it was a giant fake ear for that close-up shot they have.
Yeah.
That was a giant fake ear. You can kind of see that.
Yeah.
I guess they said on the set, and it was ILM. I think that did a lot of the effects.
Oh, cool.
But ILM. But I think they said one morning they came in and somebody had made a giant Q-tip.
Oh.
You know.
That's really funny. Yeah, no, I really liked the effects definitely, like, they hold up. I mean, they're good for an 80s movie. I really liked when the, like, worm or whatever is coming out of Chekhov's ear. I liked the really fast push in. You know, it wasn't the same. Yeah, because, well, the other times we see it, it was just like it cuts to like a really close up. But this time it was like, because it moved fast in, it gave the illusion that it was like, oh, this isn't, it felt less like a prosthetic or something, even though it obviously still was.
Leonard Nimoy's acting at the end made me tear up a little.
Yeah.
That was sad.
Yes.
The big part
Yeah.
Oh.
Man.
And that's the thing is Leonard Nimoy at the time, I don't think he was hip on being typecast as Spock.
Oh, sure.
Book said I am not Spock, and stuff. And originally, and I think what I had heard in some places is that the only reason he signed on for this movie is because they promised him a death. And I don't know if it was his plan but then there was also talk because I think he actually directs Star Trek 3.
Leonard Nimoy does?
Interesting. He directs 3. Shatner directs one of the later ones. I mean, these guys all wanted to do that too. Of course, they've been living their characters for so long.
Sure.
But so I don't know if there was any of that in there. But you get to the death scene, and there's some conflicting things. They mentioned that, the whole scene with the remembering, so you can bring it back.
Yeah.
Like that. They said that originally, when screening the test audiences, that wasn't in there, and nobody liked that Spock was dead.
Oh.
They had to go back and make sure that remember thing was in there. The mind melt remember part was in there, and then they went back in to some park in San Francisco and shot the very end where you see the two sitting in the forest.
Interesting.
And that kind of thing. And Leonard Nimoy in an interview, he said he didn't know they had done that. And when he actually saw a screening,
Oh, he was mad.
yeah, Paramount's going to be calling me.
That's so funny.
It was, like I said, there's conflicting things. I have heard in the past that he wanted to be done with Spock, and that was why he signed on. Same reason I think we talked about that with Harrison Ford, too.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't want to get typecast or anything like that. And Shatner kind of went through that too. I mean, all these guys kind of went through that, where they're a little worried about typecast and that kind of thing. DeForest Kelley, Bones, he said in an interview, he had already been the lead in other shows, and he was a little worried about it, but then he just, he enjoyed it that much, stuff. So,
yeah, DeForest Kelley is so good. Like Bones.
Yeah, it's
He's like criminally underrated. Like everybody always talks about Spock and Kirk. Understandably, they're awesome, but Bones, he deserves some time in the sun.
There is a lot. Or they said that, originally when Kirk's trying to get into Spock and Scotty said, "Boss, he's dead already."
Mm-hmm.
The original line was, Bones was supposed to say he's dead, Jim, but that's the joke. That's been a line that's been a joke forever. He's dead, Jim, and DeForest Kelley said no. They would give us some humor in that scene that we don't want, because everybody knows that line came up a bunch as a joke. He's dead, Jim.
Yeah.
So I think that's a smart thing that they took that out and made that more poignant.
Yeah. No, I agree. It definitely feels. Well, it gives Scotty something to say. He's missing from this.
Well, and like you said, Shayde, it made you tear up.
Yeah.
Grandpa Mike says this is the only time he's cried. He only cried.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, so so that at the time, I mean, I guess I understand like people being upset about Spock dying because he's like the guy. But I was thinking that during the movie, I was thinking at the end of the movie, I wish they had left it so it felt like he was actually dead. It would have made the movie much more emotionally impactful. And granted, I mean, I know, obviously.
And he's coming back.
Yeah. And I mean, I always would have known because I probably saw the Abrams movies before I saw Wrath of Khan. But it still would have been, like, much more emotionally impactful if, like, I don't know. It feels weird having that, obviously the emotional scene from Leonard Nimoy, and then Shatner's eulogy is just great.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just an iconic scene, and it feels like they don't hit quite as much just because, well,
I think, again, it is one of those things that because you know it.
Yeah.
Maybe taints it a little bit. I mean, like I said, the test audience hated it. And of course the studios hated it because as soon as they were getting a good response, they knew they wanted to do more.
Yeah.
And I do have to say, bringing them back, I mean, obviously, besides the fact that I love that, Star Trek 3 and 4, and that storyline or whatever. Besides that, I mean, obviously, you get into 5 and 6, and it is that crew that makes this.
Definitely.
It's not just Shatner or anything like that, but it's definitely the crew. And I don't know, the way that, Sulu, George Takei has come out, and he had all kinds of issues on set.
Sure.
He didn't want to come back either. Even for, I think it's the sixth one, you'll notice he's on another ship the whole time. So he didn't even want to come. He basically didn't want to come back.
That's right. Isn't he a captain? Yeah.
It's kind of fun for Sue's character. But
Yeah.
he didn't want to be part of the movie. So
Yeah.
he had a lot of issues with Shatner and that sort of thing. There's been stories.
Sure.
So it's kind of sad, but I think that helps. And then, you see that obviously when they were doing the Abrams movie, they concentrated on that too, right? Because Roddenberry had always said, and I mentioned this in other places, but Roddenberry's edict was that there shouldn't be any drop between.
Right.
It should always be a well-knit group of people. And I think even though there's not that kind of personal drama, there's always that, it feels like that camaraderie, almost a military crew or something working together.
Mm-hmm.
I think makes the movies what they are.
Yeah, they definitely all have really, really good chemistry. And it's impressive to see that continued from 1966 to, when did The Undiscovered Country come out? 91? We're looking at 30 years here. It's impressive to have all of these people maintain that for so long. You would think after spending so much time, if I spent 30 years with you, oh my God, well, we would be going at it every day.
Well, even the Beatles couldn't make it.
That's a very good point. And now, is Ringo alive? I was going to say, I think Paul's the only one.
We're going to stay.
Anyways, I did also look it up. Yes, both The Search for Spock and Voyage Home, 3 and 4, were directed by Nimoy. 5, The Final Frontier, was by Shatner. And then 6 was Nicholas Meyer or whatever, the guy. Yes. Yeah, so it's telling that that Shatner directed one of the ones that is regarded as the worst.
It is. Shatner had his thing there. We'll get to that one, bitch.
Oh, I'm so excited.
It's still good. Yeah, there's plenty wrong with it.
Yeah. All right. Well, before we wrap up, any final thoughts, guys?
Beam me up, Scotty, and I wish we could have like an effect there.
We just have you warble out of here. Yeah.
Just be like,
What you should do is you should have just said "beam me up, Scotty," and then just slowly sunk down. Would have been a great. Anything else, Dad?
No, like I said, it's. Obviously, it's a thing. If you haven't seen it yet, you're watching this. Sorry.
Yeah. No, this is an iconic movie. I jokingly said it in the beginning, but it really is like one of the best sci-fi movies.
And I think, and again, I'm the kind of guy who watches extended Lord of the Rings all in one day kind of thing.
A real man, you mean?
I think that this movie is great. It's an amazing movie, and it only gets better when paired with 3 and 4, and building up that, like I said, the modern Star Trek. So I'm looking forward to continuing on and talking about the next few.
Yeah, no, definitely. I'm excited. Definitely rewatching this movie has made me get back into a Star Trek mood. I'm really excited to see Next Gen and the Next Gen movies because I have no concept of what those are going to be like. But no,
in 10 years when you finally get around.
Yeah, if that. But no, I agree. This is definitely, it's a great movie. And like you said earlier, it's a great entry point into the universe, because this is the best, this is the best of Star Trek. This is, people at their peak. We're pulling in threads from the past TV show. We're, like you said, moving things forward in a continued story. I think, it's a great entry point. All right. But I think we're going to go leave it there. I am mad that you said "beam me up, Scotty," because that's how I was going to sign off the episode.
I'm sorry. Well, hey.
Dad, your grandpa Mike had a T-shirt that he wore for a long time. It said, "Beam me up, Scotty. There's no intelligent life down here."
Yes. Yeah, that's a good one. But we will leave it there, and we will see you guys next time for another review. Captain's Log, signing off.